Charles Tannock, is it possible to have no deal Brexit because it's looming? They're just some weeks before the deadline, and still there is no deal.
Well, obviously there's only 45 days left to the 29th of March, which is the day in which Britain formally leaves the European Union. Mrs May has used the pressure and the risk of a no deal as a way of convincing the British Parliament to vote for her deal. And of course, if there were a no deal, it would be very damaging to the EU 27's economy, particularly countries like Germany, which export heavily to Britain, but all the coastal countries like France and Holland and Belgium. But it'd be even more damaging to the United Kingdom because as a proportion of our GDP, it would be greater in terms of the overall effect. So no deal clearly, in my view, should be taken off the table. That shouldn't really be considered as an option. I'm in favour of the amendment which didn't pass last time, but which is going to be resubmitted, I believe, tomorrow, whereby if there isn't a deal by the end of February, which is the end of this month, 27th, 28th, that the government takes no deal off the table and asks for an extension of Article 50 to give more time for negotiations. That would be my strategy. But of course the British government keep no deal on the table, A, to put pressure on the Europeans, including the Germans in particular, but also they want to put pressure on the members of Parliament in the House of Commons to vote through Mrs May's deal, which was the deal agreed with the 27 back in December of last year. But you know, I don't think no deal is very likely myself. But if there is a no deal, it must be managed. It must be, as it were, its damage must be reduced to the minimum possible, and all sorts of emergency measures will have to be brought in quickly to make sure that people can travel, that food can be distributed, that medicines can arrive in Britain, particularly the short half-life isotopes for cancer therapy, insulin, these sort of things, because there will be huge obstructions and delays at the borders in Calais and in Dover. So I think a no deal is quite damaging, but I don't accept that it's going to be the end of the world. Britain will survive it, but that's not what we were promised. The Brexiteers all said there would be a deal, it would be quick, it would be easy, and that the United Kingdom held all the cards. Well, they were wrong, and I said they were wrong at the time. This was arrogance, this was hubris, and this was frankly lying and conning the British electorate into voting for Brexit.
Charles Tannock, what behalf of Irish border, what are the major deficiencies of the current deal that makes it so unacceptable for the Westminster?
Well, I don't have a problem with the backstop. I think you need a backstop. It's an insurance policy that if there isn't a deal between the UK and the 27 in the 20 months transitional period that keeps the border open, that it falls back on the backstop, the insurance policy, that the whole of the United Kingdom stays in the customs union. Well, I'm in favour of the United Kingdom staying in the customs union, full stop. If we have to Brexit, I want soft Brexit, which is customs union plus single market. Now, it should be for the whole of the United Kingdom. I wrote a paper saying it could be just for Northern Ireland. But of course, the Northern Irish pro-Brexit party, the DUP, were against that because it would require checks between Great Britain and Northern Ireland, i.e. within the United Kingdom. So for the kind of Brexiteer, sovereignist, English nationalist types, in the ERG faction within the House of Commons, anything which basically results in either staying in the customs union, which would mean that Britain would not have its own independent trade policy, we'd still rely on the 27 to negotiate for us, or anything which, for the DUP in particular, which results in checks within the Irish Sea, within the United Kingdom, within the single market of the United Kingdom, that's unacceptable. And so, in a sort of strange way, Mrs May, in her deal, has managed not to please people like me who are pro-European, who are strong Remainers, because she actually wants to have a hard Brexit eventually, but there is this backstop which keeps us in a softer Brexit for maybe a long period of time until the Irish border is resolved through technological means. But she's also upset the kind of nationalist Brexiteers because of the backstop. So nobody's happy with her deal, which is why a few weeks ago she lost it by 230 votes. Now, whether she can recover enough of those and get Labour Party to agree by the issue of the customs union, she's rejected that over and over again. Whether at the last moment she has to do a deal with Labour, I doubt it that she will do, because she'll split the Conservative Party. So it's really an impossible position that Mrs May's in to get her deal through. But who knows? It's whoever blinks first. You know, does she or the EU give way on the issue of the deal? And there's no evidence from what I've seen that the people over here, Michel Barnier and his team, are prepared to reopen the negotiations and change the backstop, because what the ERG want is a time-limited backstop that after, say, a few years, 4 or 5 years, the UK can tear it up unilaterally, and that would potentially